Hello, this is Roye speaking, and I'll be taking you through a quick tour of some of the major changes in LightWave 2020. However, before I do that, I want to go over some of the lesser known features that were implemented in the previous version because I feel that these are the kinds of changes that make the end user experience better for everyone who uses this software. Let's waste no time and get right into it. In the past, drop-down lists tended to be a major workflow bottleneck because the more complex your scene became, the longer these lists would get and the harder it would be to navigate to the item that you'd like to select. As of 2019, every single list like this across the entire user interface from modeler and layout has been made searchable. Just start typing and it'll filter the list to items that only contain those letters or words. It's now also possible to use the mouse wheel to navigate through these lists, making it much more convenient. In Modeler, the Vertex map panel has received some improvements to make it operate more like you would expect it to. Now you can just select multiple things in here, right-click, and whatever you do here will apply to your entire selection. Also, it is now possible to select any points, polygons, or edges that a Vertex map applies to using this newly added Select by Map option. When used multiple times, it will add to your current selection, and it generally serves as a very good way to utilize selection sets, among other things. Back in Layout, a simple feature that I know will get a lot of use is the ability to toggle the visibility of all OpenGL elements. Sometimes you just want a preview free of whatever controllers, displays, bones, or whatever, and you no longer have to spend time manually hiding everything to get that effect. Navigating through larger scenes or complete environments can be problematic because your main method of changing where you're viewing things from is to hold the Alt button and left-click drag. But if I wanted to do something like get inside of this building and look around, it's just not very convenient to do because all I can do is orbit and pan. This is fine for working on specific areas in your scene, but not so great for traversing through it. This is why you can now press X on your keyboard to toggle fly-through navigation, which is available in both Modeler and Layout. When enabled, this text appears to show you that it is active, and you can press the W, A, S, and D keys to move in any direction, the Q and E keys to move up and down, and the Z and C keys to manipulate the perspective amount. You can change not only the sensitivity of the controls through this panel here, but if you visit device settings, you can remap the keys used while this mode is active. Just know that device settings is always relative to the device that you have selected here, so if I select the mouse, it will provide me a way to change which buttons do what. You can also use this to help position and animate cameras directly through the camera view. Another nice little interface change is in the keyboard options. It used to be rather confusing to assign hotkeys, but now it's very obvious where things are placed when you drag and drop. Finally, this one is more specific to animators, but LightWave now has a native Euler filter called RotoFix. You no longer need third-party tools to fix rotation flipping. Just select the items and apply the tool and it works instantly in most cases. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to the highlights from LightWave 2020. Although Modeler only really received one new thing, it's quite substantial. You'll find a new action center called Local, and I'm very certain that you're going to be using it all the time. Let me demonstrate this by using a simple plane of polygons. The Local Action Center enables you to scale and rotate things relative to a given group of selected polygons. It means that if I select isolated parts of this plane and then rotate or scale, it's going to perform that action on each connected part of my selection. It enables you to perform a number of operations that were previously impractical or impossible to do in Modeler before. The Local Action Center is merged into the rest of the toolset. Right-click fall-off operations and symmetry function just like you would expect. The Scene Editor in Layout has received some welcome additions to enhance usability. Normally when you select things, it will show in the Scene Editor that you do have them selected, but if you try to do something like change the icon color, it's only going to apply that to one item, because selecting stuff in the viewport is separate from selecting things in the Scene Editor. There are times where this behavior is actually desirable, but for the times where it's not, you can now make the Scene Editor always sync with your viewport selection, which makes changing item colors or saving selection sets far more convenient. Instancing got some new nodal outputs, which adds one critically important layer of control when it comes to moving, rotating, or scaling. So in addition to manipulation of the original object, it is much easier to do something like sculpt paint a weight map natively in Layout to drive these properties in specific areas of your mesh. Some new nodal OpenVDB tools have been introduced which build upon what was established in the previous two versions of Lightwave, adding basic Partio support, mesh advection, the ability to split apart and combine grids, and even utility functions that help visualize the properties of an OpenVDB grid. The last topic I'll cover here are the changes and additions to the rendering system. Clearly, this demands an entirely separate video for specifics, but let's just get a broad idea of what's been worked on. The very first thing that you're going to notice is that in all new Lightwave scenes, an environment light is present because this is what controls lighting from the environment now. Most outdoor scenes, or scenes with windows or any form of outside illumination, need some kind of environment for proper lighting, reflections, and general surface details. Normally, you would add an environment image of some sort through the backdrop panel, and that's fine, but if you want your environments to be a bit easier to transport from scene to scene, I would recommend setting up the environment through the light by right-clicking in this area. Previewing the environment has been noticeably improved in various ways. For example, if I add a turbulence texture to the mix, we can see that the texture appears in the preview. We can also tweak the intensity and color of the environment light to make quick adjustments. On a related note, environment reflections are now visible directly in the viewport, so you can immediately see its contributions to your model's surfacing and color composition. Finally, the renderer has received a new addition called the Irradiance Cache. To boil things down to the most basic, admittedly oversimplified terms, the Irradiance Cache essentially enables Lightwave to pre-compute parts of the rendering process if any given geometry has already been looked at in previous renders. In short, your second render is always going to compute faster, and because this isn't just some simple light map or baked surface detail, it means that the system works even if the content is animated. You're not going to be dealing with shadows that are stuck in place after you move things around, or light surface contributions from objects that might no longer exist. Okay, so that covers the big picture regarding Lightwave 2020. There are other things that were added, tweaked, or changed, of course, so if you're looking for more detailed information, the Lightwave documentation is the very best place to look. Everything is neatly organized and easy to access. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about Lightwave 2020, you can email me at ryanroye@gmail.com or contact Lightwave support directly through the lightwave3d.com website.